Let me ask you a simple question. If someone told you what clothes you must wear every day, what time you must wake up, what exactly you must eat for breakfast, how would you feel? You would feel angry, restricted, controlled. You would say, "You are taking away my freedom." And you would be right. But here is a much deeper, more uncomfortable question. Why do we accept it when someone controls what happens inside us? Right now, think about it. Someone can decide whether you feel happy or unhappy just by what they say. Someone can ruin your entire day just by a look, a message, or a comment. Someone else can decide whether you feel confident or small, calm or anxious. Is that not slavery? If another person can decide what happens within you, your emotions, your peace, your sense of worth, that is the worst form of slavery. And yet most people live this way every single day. We call it normal. But just because everyone is doing it doesn't mean it's healthy, doesn't mean it's freedom, doesn't mean it's happiness. The truth is simple and uncomfortable. Life around you will never happen exactly the way you want it to. It never has. It never will, and it shouldn't. Because life is not a machine built to obey you. Even machines don't obey perfectly. Your phone freezes, your car breaks down, your technology fails you every week. So how do you expect life filled with people, emotions, chaos, and uncertainty to obey your expectations? If your happiness depends on external events going your way, then your happiness will always be fragile, temporary, unstable. Today you feel good. Tomorrow you don't. And you spend your entire life chasing conditions instead of building inner strength. We use many words for pleasant experiences, peace, happiness, joy, fulfillment, bliss. And we use many words for unpleasant ones, stress, anxiety, fear, anger, depression. But in truth, it's very simple. There is pleasantness and there is unpleasantness. If your pleasantness depends on what happens outside of you, then statistically speaking, the odds are against you, because life will never cooperate 100% of the time. So the real question is not, how do I control the world? The real question is, who is in control of my inner world? Most people, when life doesn't go their way, look upward. They pray, they blame fate, they ask the universe, they ask God. They are always looking up for answers. But here's the irony. Do you even know which direction is up? This planet is round. It's spinning. You're moving through space at incredible speed. Which way is up? Which way is down? There is no sign in the universe that says, this side up. North, south, east, west. These are human inventions. Convenient labels. Not absolute truths. The only direction you truly know, the only direction you can be certain of, is inward. You know what is outside you, and you know what is inside you. This is your only real certainty. Everything you have ever experienced in your life, every sound, every image, every joy, every pain, happened within you. You have never experienced the world directly. Light reflects off objects, enters your eyes, gets processed by your brain. Sound waves travel through the air, vibrate your ears, get interpreted inside you. Where did you see the world? Inside you. Where did you hear it? Inside you. Where did joy happen? Inside you. Where did suffering happen? Inside you. You have never experienced anything outside of yourself. So let me ask you again, if everything you have ever experienced happens within you, then who should be in charge of what happens there? Someone else or you? If you take responsibility for what happens within you, then your experience of life becomes yours. Not dependent on people, not dependent on situations, not dependent on luck. The events of life may still be unpredictable, but your inner experience becomes stable, calm, grounded, strong. But if you leave your inner world unmanaged, untrained, unconscious, then anyone can control it. Not because they are evil, not because they intend to hurt you, but because they too are unconscious. And unconscious people hurt each other by accident. This is the foundation of a truly happy life. not chasing joy, not avoiding pain, but taking responsibility for your inner state. In the next part, we will go deeper. We will talk about the difference between pleasure and joy, why discipline leads to freedom, and how you can stop giving other people the remote control to your emotions. Because happiness is not found out there. It is built deliberately within you. Most people say they want happiness, but what they are really chasing is pleasure. And these two are not the same thing. Pleasure is what you feel when something happens to you. Joy is what you experience when something happens within you. Pleasure depends on conditions. You get the job. You get the money. You get the approval. You get the relationship, and for a moment you feel good. But the moment passes, the pleasure fades, so you need more. More success. More attention. More stimulation. This is not happiness. This is dependency. And dependency is not freedom. Joy, on the other hand, does not ask life to behave a certain way. Joy is not a reaction. It is a state, a trained inner state. That's why two people can live the same life, face the same challenges, and experience life completely differently. One is constantly tense, restless, frustrated. The other is calm, focused, alive. The difference is not circumstances. The difference is inner mastery. Most people don't realize this. They spend their lives negotiating with the outside world. If I get this, I'll be happy. If this stops happening, I'll be peaceful. If people treat me better, I'll feel better. But life doesn't negotiate. Life simply happens. And when you build your happiness on conditions, you build it on something you don't control. That's why even successful people are often anxious. That's why wealthy people still feel empty. That's why fame doesn't cure loneliness. Because external success does not create internal stability. Only inner responsibility does, let's be honest. If someone insults you and you become angry, they didn't put anger inside you. They activated what was already there. If someone ignores you and you feel worthless, they didn't create that feeling. They revealed an insecurity you never addressed. Life doesn't inject emotions into you. Life exposes what you have not mastered. This is uncomfortable to accept because it means you cannot blame the world forever. It means growth is your responsibility, and responsibility is heavy, but it is also liberating because the moment you realize that your inner experience is in your hands, you stop begging life to be different. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You stop postponing peace. Most people say, I'll be happy when I finish school, when I make more money, when I fix my relationship, when I move to a new place. But life doesn't have a finish line. There is always another challenge, another responsibility, another problem to solve. So if happiness is always postponed, it never arrives. Joy is not a reward at the end of life. It is a way of living. And here is the truth most people avoid. Joy requires discipline. Not the kind of discipline that feels like punishment, but the kind that feels like self-respect. The discipline to observe your thoughts instead of being dragged by them. The discipline to pause instead of reacting. The discipline to breathe before you explode. This is not weakness. This is power. Real power. Anyone can react. Only a few can respond consciously. That's why freedom is not about doing whatever you want. That is impulse. Freedom is about not being controlled by what happens around you. If a bad day can destroy your peace, you are not free. If a comment can ruin your mood, you are not free. If someone's opinion defines your self-worth, you are not free. Freedom begins when your inner state is no longer hostage to the external world. This is the difference between a pleasant life and a meaningful one. A pleasant life depends on circumstances. A meaningful life depends on awareness. And awareness changes everything. When you are aware, emotions arise, but they don't own you. Thoughts appear, but they don't dominate you. Situations happen, but they don't define you. You begin to experience life with depth instead of drama, intensity instead of anxiety, clarity instead of confusion. And slowly something changes. You stop chasing happiness. You stop running from pain. You start living. In the next part, we will bring everything together. We will talk about how to take full ownership of your inner world, how to live peacefully in an unpredictable world, and how to build a life that feels deeply fulfilling, not just comfortable. Because happiness is not something life gives you. It is something you cultivate. At some point in life, you must make a decision. Not a loud decision. Not a dramatic one. A quiet, internal decision. You must decide who is in charge of your inner world. Because if you don't decide, life will decide for you. People will decide for you. Circumstances will decide for you. Random events will decide for you. And you will call it fate, but it is not fate. It is unconscious living. Most human suffering does not come from life itself. It comes from resistance. Resistance to uncertainty. Resistance to discomfort. Resistance to reality. Life will change. People will change. Plans will fail. Expectations will collapse. This is not a personal attack. This is life. The moment you stop arguing with reality, something incredible happens. Your energy returns to you. Instead of wasting energy fighting what is, you invest energy into how you respond. And response is where freedom lives. Taking ownership of your inner world does not mean suppressing emotions. It means understanding them. It means realizing that emotions are visitors, not dictators. They arrive, they stay for a while, and they leave, and if you don't cling to them. But when you identify with every emotion, when you say, "This is who I am," you trap yourself. You are not your anger. You are not your fear. You are not your anxiety. You are the awareness that experiences them. And awareness creates space between you and your reactions, space where choice exists. This is where happiness becomes stable, not because life becomes easy, but because you become strong. Inner strength does not shout. It does not need validation. It does not demand control. It simply remains steady. Think about the strongest people you've ever met. Not the loud ones, not the aggressive ones, the calm ones, the ones who don't panic under pressure, the ones who don't collapse when things go wrong, the ones who don't need to prove anything. That calmness is not luck, it is training. A trained mind, a trained nervous system, a trained inner environment, and this is available to anyone. But it requires one thing: radical responsibility. No more blaming your childhood, no more blaming your partner, no more blaming society. These things may explain your pain, but they do not have to define your future. The moment you say, "Whatever happens within me is my responsibility," your life changes. You stop waiting for permission to be peaceful. You stop postponing happiness. You stop living on pause. Happiness is not about smiling all the time. It is about being at ease with yourself, even in chaos, even in uncertainty, even in pain, because pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Pain is physical. Suffering is psychological. Pain happens. Suffering is something we create by resisting pain. When you stop resisting, pain passes faster. When you accept without collapsing, pain transforms into wisdom. This is what it means to live fully, not numbing yourself, not escaping reality, not pretending everything is fine, but meeting life directly, with clarity and courage. When you take ownership of your inner world, relationships change. You stop demanding others to make you happy. You stop draining people emotionally. You start sharing joy instead of seeking it. Love becomes cleaner, less needy, more genuine. Work changes. You stop tying your worth to results. You do your best and let go of obsession. Effort becomes meaningful. Success becomes secondary. And when success comes, it no longer controls you. Even failure loses its power over you. Because your inner stability does not collapse with circumstances. This is real happiness. Not excitement, not entertainment, not distraction, but a quiet sense of aliveness, a deep inner ease, a feeling that no matter what happens, you are okay. This does not mean you stop growing. It means you grow without anxiety. You act without fear. You dream without attachment. You live without constantly defending yourself. And slowly, life responds differently. Not because you control it, but because you no longer fight it. So if you take one message from this video, Let it be this: do not outsource your happiness. Do not give other people the remote control to your inner world. Do not wait for life to be perfect before you allow yourself peace. Happiness is not something you find. It is something you practice every day in small moments, in ordinary situations. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes, until one day you realize you are no longer chasing happiness. You are living it.